Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of XenTegra on Air IGEL podcast series. I'm your host, Indrajeet Ghorpade, Director Solution Engineering with XenTegra Private Limited. And I have with me Mr. Simon Townsend, Field CTO with IGEL. Hey, hi, Simon. How are you?
Good morning, Indrajeet. I am very well, thank you. The sun is shining here in the UK, and yeah, I'm having a good week. How's things with you?
Same here. Like it's kind of a sunny atmosphere, but like evenings are a little colder. Like it's mix of two different climates. In the daytime it will be whole sunny and like a lot of heat, but like in the evening it's little pleasant and like that feel of like good weather you'll find in the evening. So it was kind of a pleasant experience, I'll say, nowadays.
Good, good. Any news from your side? Anything good been going on in the last week or so?
Yes, like as even I just faced last week, right? There are a lot of inquiries or at least some requests for POCs. I'll talk about like not specifically IGEL, but like in that EUC space, right? A lot of inquiries, a lot of solutions customers are approaching, like they want to evaluate those solutions. So we started recently, we started a couple of POCs, we built a couple of POC environments. Now customers are testing. So it will
Yeah,
be for a specific solution like Control or like Parallels and some like kind of solutions. But like obviously, when that POC will go at next level, then there'll be a lot of discussions about like all those products which can complement with each other. But
yeah,
at least, yeah, we're getting the traction like for these new solutions and like people are evaluating, especially those global customers. They're very much interested in evaluating new technologies and like booming technologies, I'll say, in like European and like US
yeah,
markets. So, yeah, so a lot of things
yeah.
happening. And
It's I
some,
tell you, it's happening, my friend. I did a presentation um probably about 4 weeks ago now called the fifth wave of end user computing. And I went all the way back to, the 90s, and I spoke about the first wave of VDI that came about, when Citrix was launched, or Citrus as it was called back then, and how it was being used. And then I spoke about the second wave, sort of what, going back to the Citrix Mark Templeton days when there were products like MetaFrame XP, and then we sort of got introduced to Zen App and then Zen Desktop. Then obviously VMware came into the fold, and we sort of had things like Windows XP migrations taking place, and the move from 32-bit to 64-bit computing. I think we're on the cusp of this fifth wave now because we've got so much going on. Um, you know, Everyone always talks about COVID and work from home and hybrid work, right? Whatever. I think that is now well behind us, happily. We're in a world of hybrid work, and I think that as organizations are now looking at their budgets for 2024 and looking at how they're going to deploy modern workspaces, people are really interested in sort of, mixing things up and changing things, right? And it's moved from being a one solution fits it all to being finding the right solution for the particular use case, the particular employee, the particular business unit. And I'm seeing all sorts of things going on, right? Organizations that are increasing the amount of Citrix they've got, organizations who are moving to desktop as a service and want to put everything into the cloud with AVD and Cloud PC, organizations that are trying to work out how they're going to go from Windows 10 to Windows 11. Um, I spent a lot of time with an organization last week who is looking at moving uh, a large number of their applications to web, and they're actually looking at secure web browser technology. That's another interesting space, right? Technologies like Talon and Island, who are doing enterprise browsers that sort of complement what we're doing in IGEL. So I'm really starting to see things pick up very, very quickly. I think I mentioned to you last week, I'm heavily involved in a number of conversations with Microsoft. I'm talking with a number of healthcare and local government organizations that are all looking at their 2024 strategy. So things are definitely picking up. even in our office today, I mean, there must be what, 40, 50 people in our office today, like not just IGEL people, right? We've also got some people who are over from the US. We've got Lenovo are in our office today. Citrix are coming in later on today. We've got a Microsoft team coming in tomorrow. So things are getting very, very exciting in the world of end user compute. And I don't know whether we're going to carry on calling it end user compute though, right? When this is a good question to ask you. When I say end user compute, do you immediately think VDI or do you think bigger than VDI?
It's obviously bigger than media, not end user computing. Like initially, it was more of a like people were end user computing means like people are thinking of those end computing things, right? Only
Yeah,
specifically in computing. But now EUC is like end user computing space is more of your physical endpoint, your VDIs, then like solutions like your security solutions, which are for that particular EUC space, then
yeah,
monitoring solutions for that end user computing. So end to end, like though all those solutions which are like coming together to deliver a seamless experience to the end user. So that's what
yeah,
I think kind of a end user computing concept right now. It is not
yeah,
limited to a solution or like specific technology. It is combination of multiple technologies,
yeah.
and which will help delivering or like which help that end user that experience to use his corporate applications and services.
I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. Perhaps that's another conversation for us to have next week, right? Which or one of
Yeah,
the weeks coming.
yeah,
How do we see the traditional VDI space, how it's morphed into end user compute, and also how's end user compute security and service management going to start to come together, right?
yeah,
And again, you know, I've felt this for a while, but I'm also watching XenTegra um, as an organization include this, right? You guys are not just focused on EUC anymore. You've got those other technologies that are starting to come in, and even inside an organization, I can see the people that used to do ITSM, right, the service management piece,
yeah.
they need integration with the end user compute piece. They need to be communicating, and they need integration to the security teams as well. And yeah, it's getting very interesting, very very interesting. Which I suppose is quite a nice bridge to what we wanted to talk about today, right? Which is the
Yeah,
IGEL Ready program.
I get very important.
I don't know how much we've spoken about IGEL Ready, but yeah, maybe you or I can sort of talk to that a little bit today.
Yeah. So yeah, and actually that will be the right topic for today because last week we covered all those verticals where IGEL Solution Pro and like that experience to the end users, like which all verticals we should IGEL is focusing on, like IGEL Solution well fit, like well suited or like well played in that particular use case, and now which all partners IGEL is working with or like working along with, or right, which all partners are there in that IGEL ecosystem. I think that will be kind of like we touch base a little bit those applications specific to the vertical, but I think let's talk more about that IGEL Ready program and those I think 100 plus technologies which are already tied up or already pre-integrated in the IGEL OS and like the IGEL Ready program specifically.
Yeah, sure. So
Yeah,
I think I mean, the one thing that I can say for those that are listening,
yeah,
um, is you can go to igel.com/ready. Okay. And if you go to igel.com/ready, you can learn all about what is IGEL Ready. And more importantly, not only will you learn about the program, but you can start to see the partners that are part of that program. But in very simplistic terms, IGEL Ready is a program that we put in place a number of years ago to formalize our technical alliance partnership program. So we obviously have partners like yourselves who buy and deploy and resell our solutions and services. You know, you would be regarded as a value-added reseller, a systems integrator, for instance. That is not what this program's for. This program is for our technical alliance partnerships. So that's like our relationships with Citrix, with VMware, with Microsoft, and all of the other technologies that we either work with on a regular basis or we integrate into our platform. As I said, it's been going a couple of years now, and it was really put in place for a couple of reasons. Number one, it really allows our customers to buy with confidence, right? If you think about how an organization wants to take on IGEL and deploy it, yes, we're an operating system, and yes, we've got a whole bunch of great reasons why someone might buy and features and functionality, and we've spoken through lots of those, right?
Yeah.
But it's never just about deploying IGEL and connecting into Citrix, or deploying IGEL and connecting into AVD. There is always something else in the mix. There is always a authentication technology that a customer wants to deploy. There is the need in healthcare, particularly for clinicians, to tap and go. There are devices like LG, Lenovo, HP devices that our operating system needs to work on and needs to be tested against. There are clients that we have to allow our customers to deploy so we can connect to Citrix, VMware, AVD, Windows 365. There are monitoring tools like Controller, like Liquidware, like Lakeside, for instance, that monitor what's going on, not just in the virtual infrastructure, but also on the endpoint. There are security tools, conditional and contextual security access tools like Device Trust, as an example. Printing tools that allow printing via VDI and desktop as a service, that allow, even though the Word document is running somewhere else, the printer is next to the employee at home, and you need to be able to work out how you can stream that down and make sure that the printer driver isn't going to crash or corrupt the thing that you're printing. So the IGEL Ready program was put in place to really allow organizations to very easily see the other technologies that we integrate, that we certify, that we test as part of an IGEL deployment. And what typically happens is that one customer may well come along to us and say, well, we've got a particular type of keyboard. In finance, we've got a Bloomberg keyboard, or we've got a printing technology like PrinterLogic, or a tap and go authentication technology like Improvata. And we integrate that technology, we test it, we certify that technology. And because we've done that once, we've now got a commitment to continue the testing and certification of that. And it means that every other customer now can then come along and say, hey, I'm also in healthcare, I'm also in finance, I've got the same devices, the same use case, the same technology I'm looking to deploy. And so they can deploy that with a level of confidence. There's actually a very good infographic, and I'm going to share that. I don't know whether you can allow me to share my screen, Indrajeet, but I know some of these podcasts, all of these podcasts have got video content, and I know at some point people are going to be able to see them.
Yes.
If people are listening in, they can literally go to IGEL Ready, igel.com/ready. They can go and take a look at this infographic. But there's one particular image that I really wanted to share with the listeners, which is the one that's on my screen at the moment, that puts IGEL Ready in the middle, and then it sort of talks to the various different partnerships that we've got and all of these vendors that we've got as part of this program now. And there's about 120 plus vendors that are now part of the IGEL Ready program. So this is a commitment by the partner, by the technology partner to IGEL. They come and join the program, and they choose whether they want to go for a certified level or the standard level. And they join the program. And what we do is we work with them to make sure that their technology works with our operating system and or our management console. So to give your listeners an idea of what we're looking at the moment in terms of the graphic, we're looking at an IGEL Ready logo in the middle. And then on the outside, we're looking at technologies like HP, Lenovo, and LG. They're obviously hardware devices that IGEL OS can sit on. There's a number of different products that sit in that stack. Thin client devices from HP, Lenovo, and LG, desktop or mini PC devices from all of those. And most recently, and probably becoming even more popular, is all of the laptops. So there's about 6 or 7 different laptop models from LG. There's a number of laptop models like the L14, very, very popular from Lenovo, that comes pre-installed with IGEL, now certified, and also the HP devices as well. So we work super, super closely with those types of manufacturers to make sure that our operating system works on those devices. In the inner circle, if you like, you've got what's called IGEL Ready certified partners, and that is where not only is the vendor testing, but IGEL is testing and IGEL is supporting those devices. So LG, Lenovo, and HP, as an example, are those devices. Every time we do a release, it goes through our QA, and we're testing those devices ourselves, and we would support a customer direct with those devices. But there are also IGEL Ready partners on the outside of that diagram, like Townsend, like N Computing, like A-Trust, like Dynabook, for instance, like Asus, where Dell would be a great sort of example of something like that, where our software will work on those devices. They may well be part of the IGEL Ready program, but the support is then done by the partner themselves. And as you sort of move around that diagram, you sort of look at, okay, well, what hardware does IGEL run on? LG, Lenovo, HP. IGEL tested, IGEL supported. On the other side of that graphic, you've then got, okay, well, what VDI and desktop as a service clients do we support? Obviously, Microsoft, AVD, Windows 365. AWS is in there for Amazon Workspaces, VMware for Horizon, Citrix for CVAD, and all of their other NetScaler type technologies. Parallels is in there. Frame, stroke Dizzy Frame, as it is now known, is in there. We work very closely with the Microsoft guys that look after Teams. We are working very closely at the moment with Zoom. You've got Cisco in there as well. That means that those technologies, again, they're either available as applications from our app portal, or they're certified and built into our operating system. And then as you go into the other areas, peripherals and printing, and also security and analytics, you've got the likes of Control up in there, just released both their Edge DX and their Remote DX technologies as an application for IGEL. So someone deploying IGEL can go to the IGEL app portal and download the Control Up agents and deploy those out. Liquidware have just added their application into the app portal as well. But you've got other technologies in there like DriveLock and Digitrade, right, who are doing other security-based types of technologies, secure USB keys with pin codes on them that someone needs to plug in a USB key, put a pin code in, and then it boots up IGEL from the USB key. And then peripherals and printing, people like Printerlogic, ThinPrint, EPOS headsets, Poly, for instance, all technologies that people need to deploy alongside any sort of modern workspace deployment, right? And I sort of come back to that argument, which is it's actually very easy today to put your credit card details in and spin up a cloud PC. You can do it with Microsoft, you can do it with Amazon. Put in your credit card details, spend, I don't know, what is it, $40 bucks, and you'll have a Windows desktop running in Azure. You could then say, okay, well, I can connect to that from any device, and I might connect to that from an IGEL device. Okay, fine. I can connect to it. I can move the mouse. I can type the keys. The screen refreshes come back. But if you think about it and how it's actually deployed in an organization, it typically needs other technologies to actually allow that person to be productive from work. You need Teams optimization. You need to support headsets, speakerphones, cameras, tap and go devices, printing solutions, monitoring solutions, security solutions, etc. And so it is an ecosystem. And if you think about how Windows came into this world, they did exactly that, right? It was all about building drivers for Windows so that devices could work. And that's really what we're doing. We're creating an ecosystem now of technologies that allow people that are looking at deploying IGEL to come along and say, I've got a particular use case, I use a particular set of technologies. Are they going to work out of the box with IGEL? And the answer to that is if they're part of the IGEL Ready program, it means yes. Yes, the answer is yes. It means someone's either deployed that technology before, that company or technology is committed to working with IGEL, and if they're an IGEL Ready certified partner, that technology is also being tested and supported by IGEL as well. Does that make sense, Indrajeet?
Yeah, that actually clears, right? Which all technologies and like what exactly the IGEL Ready program is. You talked about two things, and I think that and a question around it, which may even address queries of our like listeners. So you said, right, if any customer is customer has decided to like implement IGEL solution in their environment, and
Hmm.
if suppose any of the technologies, be it hardware or like be it peripheral or be it some software, right, which they want to use an IGEL as a platform. Say, for example, let's consider a example of some hardware or some peripheral OEM or peripheral company, but they are not having any integration or they are not into IGEL Ready program. So, what will be the way whether that uh, customer has to approach that partner and that partner will approach to IGEL, or even customer can initiate that request to IGEL team and that overall circle will complete?
Yeah, that's a really good question. You could do either, right? A
Okay.
customer, um, funnily enough, I was on a call yesterday with a IT asset management company that we are looking to go into partnership with. So they're going to join the IGEL Ready program. The reason they are looking to join the IGEL Ready program is that they already have a number of joint customers in the financial space in North America where the customer is already using IGEL, the customer is already using their technology. They have already done some work with the customer to get data from the IGEL management platform exported out of the database and into their asset management analytics tool. It works, no problem at all. And the customer's very happy. But what the customer is actually saying is it would make a lot more sense if you, vendor A, went and spoke to vendor B, aka IGEL, and together became IGEL Ready partners and allowed your APIs to talk to each other. Meaning that as a customer, I don't need to do a manual export of data from one database to bring it into another one. Out of the box, there are tick boxes and functionality that just means I'm going to turn that integration on and these two technologies are going to start talking to each other. Therefore, I get instant value out of that. So in that particular case, the customer went to vendor B and vendor B then came to IGEL and are now joining the IGEL Ready. So what then happens is that we have a joint call with that vendor. We have our product management teams, typically our CTOs on the call. We'll talk about the partnership. The next thing you'll probably see is that there'll be an announcement that will come out You'll then see a blog post, some marketing type stuff that comes out. But before we've got there, there's been a ton of work being done by our development and business development teams to make sure that those two technologies are working. Some technologies can obviously be deployed even without the IGEL Ready program. CrowdStrike would be a good example of this at the moment, right? I spend a lot of time talking to customers about how deploying IGEL can remove the complexity of their Windows environment. So, a Windows machine has got antivirus and VPN and this and this and that. You've got all these agents and all this technology running on Windows. You move to IGEL, you don't need a lot of that. But what a lot of organizations would like to do is they still want to deploy a CrowdStrike agent, perhaps, or a Zscaler agent down to their IGEL device, or a visibility tool like ControlUp or some monitoring tool as an example. If they're an IGEL Ready partner, fine. You know that the technology is built into the operating system, or it's an application that can be downloaded from the app portal. If it doesn't exist, like CrowdStrike and Zscaler at the moment, they're not part of the IGEL Ready program. They're not applications on the app portal. You can still deploy those technologies to IGEL. You can still take the Linux version of the Zscaler. You can take a Linux version of the CrowdStrike application. You can still package that up and deploy it to IGEL. But you're going to be relying quite heavily on the IGEL community. Now, fortunately, the IGEL community has got about 10,000 technical experts in it. It uses Slack, and there are thousands of people logged in, day out, answering questions. If no one's joined the IGEL community, by the way, you should definitely join. It's a phenomenal resource and a great asset to any customer. So if you want to go to the IGEL community, you can literally say, hey, I'm looking at deploying this application. They're not an IGEL Ready partner. Has anyone done it before? Can I have some help building it? There are guides and recipes online that will allow you to package up, let's say, the CrowdStrike or the Zscaler application down to IGEL. But at some point, there are so many customers looking at doing that either IGEL or CrowdStrike, or for instance XenTegra and or the customer, put their hands up and say, look, we'd like you to formalize this in another way, right? And so that's when the two organizations, IGEL and the vendor, would then get together and formulate that. And my guess is that even with those examples that I've given you, there are already conversations taking place that will start to formalize that. But there's only so many vendors we can go and sign up during a given period, right? And to get to 120 vendors in the short space of time that we have is very good. But, we want to continue building on that, right? Where it makes sense. So, the more common a technology is, the more we see that technology being deployed alongside IGEL, the more likely it is to appear as a technology vendor. And obviously, over time, those things change, right? Some vendors were more popular than they are now. Some vendors are quite new to the market and they're just getting started, right? So again, watch out for more and more announcements throughout the rest of this year and into next year as we add some fairly exciting new technologies to the IGEL Ready program.
That's great. That's a great news. I think you answered it. There are both ways. Either customer can request for it, or customer can approach to IGEL team, or the other vendor can approach to IGEL team, and both the parties then another vendor and
Yeah,
IGEL
it's
team
yeah,
work on them.
it's a very easy process, to be honest with you, Indrajeet. It's someone can literally pick the phone up to me or any of the team fairly directly and say, hey, I noticed that vendor B isn't part of the IGEL Ready program. Would you entertain having a conversation with them? And if that vendor is open to it, we can have that conversation and we can then put them through a process. And it's a fairly simple process to go through, although it does take a bit of work just to make sure that things are tested and validated and certified, right? That obviously is super important.
Any standard or like any timeline considering the experiences you had like with the vendors like onboarded recently in IGEL Ready program? So is there any timeline like maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks like for that testing and like uh, agreements from both sides and then like that those marketing like or those announcements? Is there
Mhm.
any timeline for like after the request when that particular OEM will be available in IGEL Ready program or like available with IGEL OS? Is there any timeline, standard timeline
Yeah,
or something?
that's a good idea. I'd love to say it's a couple of weeks, Indrajeet, but
Okay.
I think I think it would be fair if I was to say, look, it could take any time between one and 3 months to get that through,
Okay.
right? Um, there's obviously a lot going on in other vendors. Other vendors have got their priorities. IGEL have got their priorities. Everything needs to be prioritized. Um, you know, Depending on the use case, depending on the size of deployment, depending on the number of customers, the vertical that it might be in, and the technology being used, we've put some through very, very quickly, and others have simply taken a little bit more time. What I will say is that with the advent of IGEL OS 12, the process is actually significantly more streamlined and easier now than it's ever been.
Okay.
And just to remind people of why that is, in IGEL OS 11, the IGEL operating system was a monolithic 2.5 gigabyte piece of firmware. So if I wanted to put, let's take Zscaler as an example. If I wanted to put the Zscaler agent into IGEL, I would have to make sure that they were part of the IGEL Ready program, and my development team would have to schedule a time where they could take that agent and build it into the firmware. And so that could take 2 months, 3 months to do that. And in the next release of that IGEL OS firmware, you would, oh, you know, the Zscaler technology is now integrated into it.
No.
In today's world, it's all about apps, right? IGEL OS is a lot smaller. IGEL OS 12 is a lot smaller. And what we do is we turn around to Zscaler and we say, here is the SDK, Mr. Zscaler, for building the IGEL OS application that your customers want to deploy. So they take their application, they take our SDK, they make an IGEL app, which then gets submitted to IGEL, goes through security testing and validation, and it then goes into the app portal, and then it's available for everyone to download. So that process is a lot easier. It's a lot quicker. It can be driven better by the third party vendor, as opposed to waiting for us to necessarily integrate it and do it ourselves. And that's how the control up agents have suddenly come through, right? In very, very short succession, Control Up HDX appeared on the app portal. And I think within 4 days, the Control Up Remote DX application appeared in the app portal. And that's because Control Up are dedicating the time and the resource to build their IGEL applications because they see the opportunity in IGEL. So like, we're going to build our two applications as two IGEL applications, submit them. They go through the submission process. They're available to all of the customers to then deploy. Same thing is happening with Citrix. Same thing is happening with Horizon. It's how we're getting almost day one releases of the latest Citrix Workspace app. As soon as Citrix come out with a Citrix Workspace app for Linux, the chances are that's also available in our app portal the day that Citrix release it, because Citrix have given it to us in advance. It's been packaged up. It's been put onto the app portal. Same thing's happening with, the AVD and the Windows 365 client, right? I mean, the speed of change now is fairly phenomenal, right? There are new features being added to some of these technologies every single week. So, you know, that program is important. How we integrate technologies, the use of the application portal, the modular OS, all of it sort of comes together to streamline the process. And then, on the hardware side of things, just to finish off there, we are constantly testing. So Lenovo, as an example, are an awesome partner. I mentioned they're in our office today. We have got a 6 to 9 month roadmap with Lenovo, so we can see the devices that Lenovo have not yet released, and we know which ones are going to support IGEL. We know what the components are. We know what Wi-Fi modules they're going to be using, what chipsets they're going to be using. And so they proactively come to IGEL and say, hey, look, we've got a new device that's going to hit the market in 2024. We want this to be tested with IGEL as soon as possible so that when it releases, someone can go and buy that device with IGEL pre-installed. That's a that's a that's a big change from where IGEL was as an organization, say 3-4 years ago, where we were retrospectively trying to catch up with technology. So it's a good thing. It just, as I said before, it's allowing you and your customers to buy with a level of confidence that we've never done before. If I'm a new customer today and I'm looking at deploying VDI and I hear about this thing called IGEL, I can go straight onto the website and I can literally go into igel.com/ready and I can say, show me the endpoints that I know are going to run with IGEL. So I can buy endpoints that are supported. If I need to deploy an analytics tool or a monitoring tool, I know what technologies are going to be supported. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, good stuff. Overall, I think it was like we were just talking about those integration earlier, right? But like this program, maybe like many of our listeners were not aware of, like, so they'll at least get to know like something is there, and like at least they can go on the web page igel.com/ready, and like they can like see which all technologies, or which all, even if hardware, which all hardware is like hardware part codes are supported, like to you and ready to use for IGEL. And with that, like overall, like kind of finalizing on a device hardware technology will be very easy for those customers and as well as our listeners if they want to go ahead and like try, or like they want to go ahead with IGEL solution. To
Yeah.
conclude, do you want to add on anything at the maybe kind of a like, I think we covered the program well. So if you want to add on anything further, like on this program, or like anything you want to
No,
say
I
about
think I mean I think it's an overused word, isn't it, Indrajeet? The word ecosystem
it?
and the importance of partnerships. But let's be honest, there's not a lot you can do in the world of IT without utilizing more than one vendor.
Yeah,
There is, I can't think of a single technology where, they've got a silver bullet, one size fits all, right? Um, if it's networking, you never just go to one vendor. Even if it's a Microsoft laptop, right? And Microsoft have got Defender and E3 and E5 licensing and all of this other stuff that they now throw into your licensing. There's always somebody else. There's always another technology that's needed to get something working in the way that you want it. And I think that speaks to just the importance that you know a customer is always having to try and pull together a number of technologies to provide a solution. It's why they come to a company like yours, XenTegra, who are experts in bringing together well-known products and deploying them to customers as a solution. And that's why I think it's important that vendors also um, appreciate the importance of partnerships and also therefore create these ecosystems and these programs where technologies are tested and delivered to market together.
yep. Okay,
Good.
I think yeah, it was good. Like we covered this, and like maybe we'll try to speak more about like because in IGEL till now we were speaking more about those features, functionalities, like where IGEL fits in and those things. Right
Yep.
now we are covering like in the initial episodes maybe we have covered on high level, but like now even we are like touching like each aspects, or like each areas, or like each program of IGEL in little detail. So
Yep.
maybe let's talk something new next week, like maybe about IGEL, or like maybe let's see, like we have even committed our listeners, like in upcoming episodes, even will invite a couple of our ecosystem partners. So let's see, like if we can have those sessions starting in a couple of weeks, and even that time we'll even invite those partners, and like we can speak along with them, right? How IGEL solution best suited along with their like technology or their solution, or like how both IGEL and the technology works better for the customers or like for them, right? So yes, definitely, we'll talk about it in the upcoming episodes. But I think that's it. Let's conclude for today, and catch you next week. It was nice talking to you always, and yeah, let's connect next week.
Thanks, Indrajeet.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for
Thank
letting me
you.
speak. And yep, see you all next week.
Yep. Thank you.
Have a good one.
Yep. Wish you the same. Thanks.